My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California.
It is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. It's currently 3:57 a.m. This is documentation of what is the perpetual sex offense that WYNDHAM is engaging in and is facilitating in concert with the people of the state and the state of California. It's in the form of what is ongoing terrorism, which I continue to document inside of the hotel, which includes the sexual violence of what is criminal monitoring, state surveillance by an entity inside of a private space. And also specifically while physically indisposed inside of the private space or the restroom inside of the hotel room, the entity is engaging in what is not only monitoring via light activity. This is the entity maintaining what is light activity by the lights going out. That's criminal monitoring in the specific environment, and it's an intentional act of also sexually violent pattern of conduct, while the entity is also monitoring documentation. So it is, in other words, done with the intent to harass and terrorize and sexually offend. And the documentation of the entity is with regard to the people of the state who are going to federal prison. Group stalking by both working at the venue and remaining at the venue in violation of federal law. They're group stalking at WYNDHAM. So, and that's already a matter of documentation. The light source remains here as a matter of documentation, 9:02 a.m. until 5:22 p.m. over the building, which is the specific environment. Light activity inside of the bathroom is a sex offense that the entity intentionally engages in. License 9EQS 235. 7MCC 582. These are the people of the state who are going to federal prison and are engaging in a sex offense while they're group stalking, and all of a demon-possessed entity are together gratified while the lights are turned off and on while I'm in the shower, which is the entity that's monitoring its light activity, and it's also that which demons engage in sexual violence, monitoring you, in other words, while they know you're nude, while they know that you're engaged in some sort of personal private activity, especially while the entity monitors documentation, meaning you're aware of the fact that you're being monitored, and they engage in such sexually motivated and predatory criminal activity with the intent to harass and terrorize you. License 89A S81, that's Nevada. And everything that is occurring is relevant to the criminal pattern of conduct. In other words, there is no accidental light outage. There is no malfunctions of internet or light activity. There aren't even any genuine emergencies. The entity is engaged in criminal summoning, which is at all times, under all circumstances, facilitating criminal conduct. So it's not a legitimate emergency insofar as the entity is still monitoring. It's still serving that criminal system. 90 SS 133. 414584 Nevada, 9LRR 895, 384449, and that is New Hampshire, 7THL 792, 7KHUSH1, 9FVA 014, 8KVH 278, 0312 1H1, 22561B4, 9MSR 724. The same white Cadillac with no license plate, which I already documented in images, 7NER219. They're maintaining ongoing presence as well. That's relevant to sentencing and federal prison time. 767NBM, Oregon, 7VUL 793, 9MQT101, 8CNC 587, 4UBY 067, 95732V2, 8RSW 968. 8LR5274, 9DRU140, RTP115, which is New Mexico. License 51262Z2. This is Nevada, LV4CP1. License 9MSS512. License 9JVJ420, the demon possessed, so you saw group stalking under the fake sun at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, stalking in the path with impunity. They're also sex offenders that act with impunity and are aware of the entity that is group stalking that they are a part of, and they're remaining. Let me be clear, everything that the entity is doing is an ongoing expression of impunity to the federal government that's going to prosecute them. That is including staying at the hotel. The government that's engaged in criminal monitoring will learn to appreciate the very severe consequences for engaging in domestic terrorism in the United States. 5XWN478, 443PEH, Oregon. And the third party, these are all sex offenders that are together monitoring me while I am nude in the shower, and the entity derives pleasure out of the lights going on and off. 7Z00920, and that was at approximately 3:45 a.m. while I am in the shower. That's light activity creation in the specific environment, and it is a criminal act. Okay, it is currently 4:02 a.m. and it is again October 15, 2024. I'm going to capture videos to show you what is the fake moon that's over the hotel where the entity keeps the fake sun for, let's count from 9 to 5, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 hours with the fake sun over the over the hotel. And you've got the fake moon also over the hotel, as well as I'm walking out into the parking lot where I have 3 shadows, which I've already captured on video at my arrival, where Cindy is group stalking at the front desk. Cindy, the same one you see group stalking during the day under the fake sun, engaging in what is harassment and terrorism as an entity. And the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct with impunity. As Cindy is engaged in that pattern of conduct, I want to document something that is spectacular. It's totally understandable because I'm documenting an entirely engineered environment. The fake moon that was directly over the building as I stepped out, as I finished documenting all these license plates, I look up and the moon is moved away from being over the Econo Lodge sign, which is directly above the building. The fake moon being directly over the La Quinta Inn and being next to the La Quinta Inn is equally a fake moon. And you are looking at the center of the universe where you are still seeing essentially the same parcel of land where the fake sun remains all day, and at night, that's where the fake moon is. It is the same exact pattern of conduct. And I'm going to capture a video of that. This is P.O.C. It's currently, again, Tuesday, October 15, 2024. The people of the state that I'm documenting, again, BLR 5274, in case I didn't notice that, mention that that's Washington, they're all going to federal prison. And they're engaging in a perpetual sex offense. Those that are in custody of minor children are including children in sexual violence, okay? While they're engaging in criminal surveillance with the state, and the entity knowingly does so while a hotel keeps a fake sun over it all day. While a fake sun is kept over a hotel all day, that population is intentionally, knowingly engaging in the state's pattern of conduct. That's why they're stalking via amplification. That's why they're stalking by pacing. That's why they're stalking while the ongoing criminal act of the bed shaking in the middle of the day, all night, no matter what it is. What I'm doing is as I document something that's incriminating all the demons around, the bed starts shaking. That's demonic. It's also terrorism as an entity while the demons are surrounding you, and the entity is stalking, as you have seen, in planes and helicopters, aerial surveillance, while the demon-possessed population maintains criminal presence in the path on behalf of the corrupt government in relevant position, including by working or staying at a hotel. It is currently, again, 4:05 a.m., and this is documentation of the perpetual sex offense. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:41 a.m., and it is still Tuesday, October 15, 2024. This is documentation of terrorism that an entity is engaging in while staying at a third-party facilitating venue, which is the system, the criminal system that the state of California is practicing, federal group stalking and monitoring, that is underway at La Quinta Inns and Suites by WYNDHAM in Hesperia, California, which is revealing a lot about the crime and the crime scene and the pattern of conduct that is underway, just by virtue of that title. The facilitating venue is the crime scene where the fake sun is remaining over the hotel, and as you will see in the still images that are captured, I'm in the hallway where I've already captured the evidence of impossible light activity, dynamic impossible light activity, which is the terrorizing criminal act to be surrounded by, to look at, to be touched with, to be criminally monitored, is occurring amongst the impossible light activity and under the fake sun, which is also, as a matter of evidence, conclusive evidence on video and images, published not only to YouTube for the world to witness the scientific impossibility that the sun would ever be over La Quinta Inn and Suites in Hesperia, California, let alone from 9 a.m. until 5:22 p.m. But to do so is to maliciously engage in federal group stalking and monitoring. And so you will see in still images that I captured this morning, the housekeeper inside of room, I believe it is 315, And let me confirm that. Yeah. It is indeed room 315. This is also the same third party seen accessing a Toyota Camry outside in the parking lot, monitoring with impunity. These are the demons that know that they're being documented and will still continue to stalk in the path. Never mind that they're going to federal prison. Never mind that many of them will lose their citizenship if they're not natural born citizens. Never mind the fact that they will be permanently labeled as terrorists in the U.S. as a recognized form of domestic terrorism, which is an exceedingly violent sex offense, meaning you will be labeled as what you are, a violent sex offender, also to be recognized under federal law. The entity will still engage in what is revealing their secret mental illness. That means in California, the entity is engaging in stalking amongst strangers. That's what the state of California is doing. 11:44 a.m. amplified audible activity while I am moving around, and that is making the bed. That's impunity also. And that's going again, the demon that you see in the images that is captured, who I'm documenting in these images is the documentation of the state of California. The entity, and that's impunity, while the entity amplifies every single last person that I documented by license plate is going to federal prison, because this is the impunity of the average sex offending demon-possessed group stalker. The terrorists do not ever relent, and they continuously engage in it. It is not a movie such as I Am Legend, a hollowed out zombie covered in blood that is chasing you even while they're dead. The entity is engaging in what is group stalking amongst demon-possessed state actors and third parties legally referred to by a status. However, that demon possession, that mental illness, that obsession is demonstrated and exemplified through their ongoing criminal pattern of conduct that is documented, showing their ongoing, and that's criminal. Being relentless while group stalking is criminal, and you will be placed in cages. The entities engaged in this pattern of conduct with impunity, that's legally referred to as impunity. Terrorists in the United States refuse to stop engaging in terrorism. They refuse to cease to engage in criminal activity on behalf of a corrupt government. That does not mean that the government will not be stopped. That means a lot of people are going away into secure facilities for a very long time. That's what that means. Okay, the entity is engaging in a criminal pattern of conduct with impunity and doing so. And so I have captured that evidence. You will see impossible light activity inside of room 315. The impossible light activity is the direct evidence of the intent to engage in what are elements of monitoring. That is a third party, also recognized through the placement at the venue, location at the venue. Malice is identified because this third party who's engaging in criminal elements of monitoring at a facilitating venue in a specific environment is wearing a uniform. Malice is exemplified through what is supposed to be the appropriate placement, location, some sense of belonging, which is supposed to directly rebut the notion of a stalker. Doing so at a third-party facilitating venue, doing something that is within your confines of employment. This is all identifying malice, where you are also appearing as a civilian, as apart from what is, for example, let's just say the heavily documented stalkers, the police, okay? You don't see a police officer vacuuming, you see a housekeeper vacuuming. And what you need to understand with regard to federal group stalking and monitoring, it is all manner of malice that the government is employing while group stalking you, and it is the highest form of malice, while Satan himself is using the government to engage in criminal and unconstitutional behaviors, because behaviors that are in violation of what are laws. So the fact that the government is stalking you maliciously, directly and vicariously, as it would be referred to under terms that are going to be used in court in order to prosecute people who are demon possessed, and that becomes therefore legally relevant because the government's engaging in demonic behaviors while criminally stalking you in an environment that is also legally relevant. All this demonic behavior, this demonic environment becomes legally relevant. All right, it is intentionally designed to psychologically torture and to terrorize an American citizen. That level of malice is why those who are sitting in positions of authority and in leadership and government in this state are going to be removed. Okay, that's why they will. Many will be subject to what is a prosecution, where the facts and circumstances support that. There is nothing vague and separate and too far removed with regard to federal group stalking and monitoring, and that prosecution will find itself on your desk where you think you're separate and far with clean hands, and you do not. You are not. The entities engaging in a pattern of conduct amongst the people of the state at a facilitating venue, which is this hotel in Hesperia, California, where the sun would never be present, which is necessarily the case when you're looking at the impossible light activity that's appearing on the inside of the hotel room of 315, where this third party in amongst impossible light activity is present while the light source is necessarily over the venue, and doing so while using a vacuum, which is audible activity. Notably also what is going on with me while this activity creation is underway. Not only is the population pacing all around, this is terrorism while you see one third party that represents the government. While a third party is documenting you, is monitoring you, so is all the rest of the state. It is in every way a terrorizing situation. You are prosecuting for what is the psychological harms that the ordinary target individual is experiencing, is realizing, is subject to ceaselessly. The entities engaging in what is using what is a tool, such as a vacuum, that's not free conduct. Understand the vacuum is audible activity. The audible activity of a vacuum and engineered light, which is also creating light activity and relevant positioning, and it is also occurring. Vacuuming is occurring while I just open up my hotel room door, and impossible light activity, a terrorizing event, a life-threatening event. It's also a sexually violent threat. Impossible light activity that is dynamic, moving across the walls in the hotel, which is also a documented fact. The fact of directed light and the fact that directed light is inside of this hotel are both documented on the record. Okay. And the entity is engaging what is terrorism via directed light, while a third party who is not separate from that criminal conduct amongst an entity, incriminating everyone, including anyone working at the venue who was going to federal prison, is doing so with knowledge and intent. That's called malice. While you see a uniformed third party that is a government actor, not a protected employee and not a protected business, doing so on behalf of the state, that is the malicious and corrupt misuse of a business in order to criminally facilitate federal group stalking and monitoring. It is as criminal as using your nail salon, using your laundromat to funnel in drug money, to traffic children, while you are at the front of the nail salon taking in clients to do their nails, and in the back you have all manner of drugs and money that are used as that building is used for a criminal purpose. It's recognized that this is what American citizens are doing in this country on behalf of the state. It is no less relevant to RICO, and it is no less severely life-threatening conduct that's not going to be tolerated under federal law. I cannot stress this enough. The entity's criminal system is not a secret, and it is under no circumstances going to be tolerated. And you will be subject to a raid like any other sex trafficking team of criminals. You will be subject to federal prison like any other violent sex offender. Okay, the entity is engaging in criminal conduct that it refuses to cease to engage in, and that impunity is diligently noted. Duly noted. All right, so I'm subject to impossible light activity, and you can see impossible light activity with regard to the use of audible activity creation. This is a third party that's actually monitoring me while I'm in the bathroom inside of my hotel room, which is a sex offense. And in order to document highly malicious conduct that is beating Satan at his own game, which is highly unintelligent, all I'm doing is documenting by asking for some coffee cups, documenting the specific environment. Where am I at? Where the fake sun is already established, where the impossible light is already established, where you can see the impossible light inside of the room, where a means of criminal presence and activity creation is ongoing amongst the rest of the government that's helping this entity that's threatening my life and my safety and my well-being. That equals civil and criminal prosecution. All right, the entity is doing so with impunity because the entity is at all times monitoring evidence at all times, which is also relevant to the prosecution of the state of California. It is, again, captured in images, which you will see. It's 11:51 a.m. on Tuesday, October 15, 2024. The entity is engaged in ceaseless criminal conduct that I remain subject to, and this is the documentation of it. This is narrating on the podcast regarding what is captured in images, and that the sun is over me in Los Angeles, California at Alvarado Gardens makes it impossible that any sunlight would ever be captured touching all over this hotel building, let alone impossible light activity, which is the evidence of the light source, because it's not sunlight. The placement of engineered light does not mean that it's the sun. The placement of engineered light inside of the hotel room, which is not the product of the sun being over a building, but it is the direct evidence that the light source is over the venue, which is in conformity to a body of evidence that's already sitting on the record, where documented malice and impunity is captured by the people of the state. Right? Nobody has a right to stay at this hotel. Nobody has a right to report to quote unquote work at this hotel. Nobody has a right to be in the parking lot, to be across the street. This is the severity of the state's pattern of conduct. But this is what the entity is doing while public corruption is being exposed in Hesperia, California. All right. It is currently 11:53 a.m. and this is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 4:09 p.m. This is just documentation, adding onto the podcast what it is that I'm documenting and keeping as a matter of evidence to prosecute. It's relevant for damages, for compensation that is designed to punish and deter. That is the people of the state that are engaged in domestic terrorism in concert with the state of California. And this is WYNDHAM. That's an exceedingly violent sex offender, as WYNDHAM is group stalking. WYNDHAM is group stalking while in the role of a malicious company that's engaged in the pattern of conduct. That's why the fake sun is remaining over the hotel for the duration of the day. That's why the inside of the hotel is filled with impossible light activity that is dynamic, which is terrorizing. That's why the hotel is also checking hotels out to the demon-possessed who are group stalking with WYNDHAM. WYNDHAM is indeed engaging in sexual violence and knowingly doing so while criminally monitoring evidence. And so inside of the hotel, while I'm in operation of my communication devices, this is the entity that acts not only to engage in group stalking, but is engaging in group stalking with the intent to terrorize and harass while admittedly engaging in what is a perpetual sex offense, a very expensive and a very severely punishable federal offense, sexual violence committed by an entity. This is what WYNDHAM is doing just willy-nilly. This is the foolishness that the entity is engaging in, outright defiance of federal law, and I'm going to document it. The entity is engaging in this criminal conduct, which WYNDHAM is going to compensate the target individual for. WYNDHAM represents the people of the state. All commercial actors, companies in the state of California are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring while they are maliciously engaged in and criminally facilitating a state surveillance system in violation of the constitutional and human rights of American citizens, while these corrupt companies, knowingly and intentionally doing so, are profiting. So this is providing what is a basis, which justice requires, a basis for compensation where you are going to be subject to civil and criminal prosecution. These are companies that are sex offenders. These are companies that are terrorists. These are companies that are stalkers. Okay. And they're doing so with the government. The government is relying on their criminal engagement, their criminal misuse of their business to do so. That is WYNDHAM. So while I'm inside of my hotel room, the entity is group stalking by the demons inside of the hotel who are pacing, using their hotel room doors. The demons in room 306, 307, 309, 3010, the demons that are, in other words, in the immediate vicinity of my room, right in front and right to the sides of both the left and right. All of the demons inside of this hotel are going to be criminally prosecuted. But these demons are maintaining presence, and the entity does so through the demon-possessed quote-unquote housekeepers who you see engaging in the elements of monitoring. And these demons, if they're not natural-born citizens, they have demonstrated what is, again, the policy. That's why those that are not even natural-born citizens, they're going to be deported anyway. And as the evidence shows, they don't even want to be in this country. That's exactly what you're demonstrating while you're continuously group stalking and monitoring evidence. And you could not more clearly communicate to a federal judge, please deport me out of this country. And there's nothing that's going to create any sort of basis whereby I should be permitted to stay, because that's exactly how you're going to be treated. All right. The entities based on the lawlessness and the outright disregard for the Constitution that you are in defiance of, where under that Constitution, you have stated that you are going to uphold that Constitution. You're going to respect that Constitution and be governed by it, be ruled by it when you are in this, being granted the privilege to be in this country, even as you are engaged in criminal conduct with a corrupt government. It's not providing any shelter for you. You will be deported. You are going to be deported. Okay. And it's literally a benefit to the state of California. Okay, so the entity is engaging in, and that's not just some housekeeping. This is not suggesting that housekeepers are immigrants. I'm stating any portion, any third-party state actor that is not a natural-born citizen is going to be treated like the unwelcome invaders that they are. Okay, have been given the privilege to be here, and come to find out you don't even belong here. You're unworthy to be in this country, and that privilege is going to be revoked. So I'm speaking to the entity that's group stalking. While I'm inside of my hotel room, the demons that are group stalking outside via traffic, that's actually who are demons who are pacing. And this is providing the ability to recognize the spiritual regarding what's surrounding you. These are demons that are pacing all around while a fake sun remains over this hotel all day long. Those are indeed demons who are pacing. And also you need to understand that the state of California is filled with the demon possessed who are violent sex offenders. And they want to be looked at as those who are, by the way, celebrities, politicians, business owners, pastors, pastors' wives, whatever it is, whatever position, family, homemakers, doctors, lawyers, nurses, whatever it is that they are esteeming themselves to be. And they're a bunch of demons. They're group stalking in California, and they all serve Satan. And as the evidence shows, there's no exception to that. And I can, as a matter of fact, speak in such terms, generalizing a population, because the population is group stalking, which is also supported by evidence, hard evidence. The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct. While I'm inside of my hotel room, the demons that are pacing around this hotel, group stalking, who are the people of the state of California, they're group stalking with the demons that are inside of the hotel, the people of the state of California. And the act of terrorism is documented in the following manner. As I'm in operation of my communication devices, in operation of my phone that's in my hand, reaching across the bed to touch my laptop and to operate it, obviously. And this is all occurring in the specific environment where demons, sex offenders, psychopaths are monitoring your every minor move. Okay. And as I do so, remember, psychopath stalkers who are demon possessed, they are actually animals, and they don't want you to know about their animalistic endeavor to stalk you obsessively. And as you expose Satan, Satan engages in more stalking, Satan engages in more sexual violence, Satan engages in more aggressive behaviors. And that's also communicated. It's also exhibited through the pattern of conduct of group stalking in a hotel, where you're stalking using hotel door closure as a method of stalking with activity. You also foolishly do so. It's also providence. You do so on surveillance cameras. You do so while those hotel doors are means of the use of the key cards, accessing those doors. It's all a matter of the business records at this venue as well. Nonetheless, my documentation is showing what is criminal presence under all circumstances, and the entity is going to federal prison for what the entity is doing together, which WYNDHAM is going to be civilly and criminally prosecuted. The one that is criminally profiting while acting with the state, conspiring to murder and kidnap an American citizen, which is under no circumstances going to be tolerated, overlooked, or reduced at all. So the entity is doing so while I'm making movement in my hotel room, where engineered light and a fake sun is over me inside of this hotel. The entity is engaging what is amplification of traffic. Those are the sex offenders admitting that they're stalking you on the 15 freeway outside of the hotel. They're group stalking with the sex offenders that are wearing housekeeping uniforms and also checking into hotel rooms, providing evidence to the federal judge that's going to put them in federal prison. And they're all doing it on surveillance cameras. And they do so with regard to knowledge of what I do as I do it inside of a hotel room. That is the admission of a bunch of sex offenders who are mentally ill psychopaths, stalking by noise, stalking in light. They are in the hotel that has ricocheting light activity. All they're doing is stalking. Demons stalk with the creation of noise at the precise moment that the targeted person makes any minute movement. The demons are also doing so while they're on a freeway, not living their life, but stalking another person. It is absolutely pathetic, which is how you are no bigger picture, is that the state of California is filled with demon-possessed sex offenders. They are referred to as the people of the state, and they're going to be prosecuted for the criminal act committed by the government of federal group stalking and monitoring. The entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct with impunity, and so as I document the ongoing amplification of traffic, as I reach over to operate my laptop, and as I type this ongoing act of terrorism, which is criminal conduct that people are going to answer for, and not just random people, very specific people, every employee, every third party checking in and out. The entity is doing so on behalf of the government, who has no basis to help them at all. Neither is Satan, whom they are serving, group stalking. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct with impunity. As I type out amplified traffic, as I'm reaching over to operate my laptop, which is the P.O.C, in real time, a demon lying in wait, monitoring in the hallway, is stalking with a method of amplified use of a hotel room door closure, which again, that same conduct is what's coexisting with the bed shaking inside of my hotel room. Okay. No sensational activity this time, but that's the same criminal conduct that coexists with sensational conduct that's occurring inside of my hotel room. So I just want to be clear. Those are demons that are in engineered light who are monitoring. Monitoring is a threat to your life. Monitoring is a communication of a threat to your life. Monitoring is that which is underway by the government, who has no probable cause or reasonable suspicion, no warrant, no lawful basis whatsoever to engage in that criminal system with WYNDHAM, via WYNDHAM's customers, via WYNDHAM, who's acting in concert with the demons surrounding WYNDHAM, all on WYNDHAM's property, which WYNDHAM itself has no lawful, constitutionally protected basis to even be here, because they're in the shoes of the state. All right. The entity's doing so again, more so as I document. So the more that I document, I'm making this move and I'm being terrorized with amplified audible activity in the specific environment they're monitoring. As I document that, as I type it out, ongoing amplification by psychopath, sex offending group stalkers who are literally opening and closing hotel doors in order to harass and terrorize while they're still group stalking. This is all happening on WYNDHAM's Watch. All of the millions and millions of dollars that WYNDHAM is making, their pockets are going to be drained. Okay? The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct which is the intent to murder and kidnap. While this system of group stalking, the objective has long been forfeited. So now you're just engaging in criminal conduct, showing that you are indeed mentally ill, as mental illness exposed is going to be understood and studied, and also the ways in which the entity is engaged in criminal conduct, which is also exposed and to be studied as I expose it and document it for people to understand the minutia of group stalking, the purpose of group stalking, the mental illness exposed, and the demon possession that's exposed, while the system itself is not going to and has not been successful. And yet, why do they continue? Because they are indeed demons. All right. The entity, they're working for Satan. Satan is engaging in what is the use of human beings who engage in what is targeting those whom he cannot have. Satan cannot have me. Satan also can't silence me. But Satan will continue despite that loss that Satan knows all about. That is exposing the mental illness of those who are demon possessed. Still group stalking. While the system of group stalking is never going to be accomplished, they are not going to accomplish sacrificing. They are not going to accomplish kidnapping. All right. It's not going to occur under the malicious guise of me, under the malicious guise of me just offing myself. All right. Or some unfortunate occurrence happening that's somehow mysterious, separate and distinct, having nothing to do with all of the body of evidence existing for years, as it's nothing other than murder by an entity. But that's not going to happen either. The entity is fully surrounded by evidence that's going to be prosecuted for, and it's exposing what is the reality at all times, the mentally ill entity that serves Satan. If you did not know, demon possession has the affect on a human being of creating mental illness, and all the ways in which the entity is acting out, it's showing what is the manifestations of that mental illness, such as stalking strangers, people that you don't even know, harboring hostility toward people you don't even know, obsessively consumed with them and everything that they're, and also sexually target. Well, you're a sex offender. I would argue being a sex offender is a form of mental illness. But nonetheless, the entity is engaging in this, and it's revealing what is mental illness, which needs to be understood. It is not being diagnosed. And there is much propaganda out here about falsely assessing mental illness. And that's for the criminal purposes of Satan, who is abusing the industry where his minions are strategically in place, serving to kidnap and criminally defame American citizens who suffer no mental illness whatsoever. It is currently, let me get the time as I'm documenting terrorism and harassment. It's 4:22 p.m. I want to make sure I document this. These demons are on surveillance cameras. Their criminal presence by virtue of their IDs and their credit cards, and by virtue of arriving to work, being on the work schedule. They're all group stalking together, and also strangers that are just coming onto the property, group stalking. You've seen that as well. They don't even have a hotel room. They're just on the grounds engaging in relevant position. The entity is no aspect of this criminal system is going to be missed. You cannot trick yourself out of God's judgment. And it's the same with regard to this prosecution and this worldwide exposure for what the state of California is engaging in. And there is no spell work. There's no voodoo. There's no evil eye, no sort of witchcraft that's going to serve that, first of all, that can contend with the Lord Jesus Christ. But second of all, that's going to work to escape what has already been decreed. This entire system and the entity, all of which who are in service to Satan, is going to be subject to judgment. And a lot of it you will witness through the prosecution of the state of California, but it will exceed and surpass that as well. It is currently 4:22 p.m. This is P.O.C, documentation of harassment and terrorism as an entity, which amounts to damages that are going to be paid out to the target individual, where a commercial actor is group stalking and engaging in terrorism, domestic terrorism. That is group stalking. Not laughing again because it's funny, laughing because it's very, very real, and the world is going to witness that. It's 4:23 p.m. This is P.O.C. It is 8:06 p.m. This is documentation of the people of the state who are indeed going to federal prison, engaging in criminal surveillance with the state of California at third-party facilitating venue La Quinta Inns and Suites at 12000 Mariposa Road. The people of the state working and staying at the hotel are all going to federal prison, and I'm documenting ongoing impunity while they are aware of the fact that their criminal activity is being documented, and the state continuously engages in threatening my life and my safety while engaging in that ongoing demonic pattern of conduct. Again, it is currently 8:07 p.m. Hi, Cindy. This is Erica. I don't know if you remember.
Okay.
Hi. Oh, you don't remember me? I spoke with you when I was using my phone outside in the front of the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And I
my bad.
right, and I spoke with you about the noise level and the disruption. I just wanted to find out. Okay, hi, Cindy. So I just wanted to find out, first of all, who was at the front desk. So you're the only one that's at the front desk right now?
Yes. Did you need something?
I also wanted to know, I want to know, what is the name of your manager again?
Renee.
Renee what?
I honestly don't know her last name.
Okay, you don't know your manager's last name? Okay. It's 8:08 p.m. You have guests that are staying on the third floor, and right now you'll see them on camera entering and exiting their rooms. And as they close their doors, I go in and out of my hotel room myself, and it's nothing that is going to create what I'm experiencing, extraordinarily loud conduct while they're pacing in and out of their rooms, which is something you would be able to see on your cameras as well. And that's what's happening right now. I just want to document that. And in addition, while I'm in my room, it's happening at 7:46. It's happening so frequently, I'm having to note it because I do want to speak with your manager, Renee. There's been an ongoing pattern of, it's like a very harassing environment inside of this room. And I have no idea how someone closing their hotel door on the second floor, which would be room 208, would be something that would cause my bed to shake and vibrate while I'm laying in it, even disrupting my sleep. Now, this is the thing that is coexisting when I had a conversation with you, and I'm not addressing your housekeepers except to ask them for like cups or toilet paper or something like that. But your housekeeper you told me rather that your housekeeper accused me of taking pictures of her when she is inside of a hotel room, and I'm capturing the inside of that hotel room, not with her in it. Okay. Meaning not taking a picture of her in the hotel room. She's in the hotel room and the door is open, which is how they're cleaning them. They're inside. And I'm taking a picture of the environment inside of the hotel room. And it is relevant what's going on in the environment because I'm subject to things such as the walls and the bed shaking while people are repeatedly walking in and out of their hotel rooms over and over and over again, high frequency with this. And it's all, not only is it loud, but it's also creating some sort of earthquake-like conduct, which you explained the other day as being caused by an elevator, but I just want to be clear, that's entirely impossible. And it's not typically how commercial buildings are built. Having an elevator is not something that's going to be in a business.
This building is over 20 years old.
Yeah, I understand everything that you could.
I don't know how there's vibrating in the room.
Right, exactly.
Is there a carpet in your room?
There is not.
Exactly. So that will also, since there's no carpet in your room, there's more noise going to be attracted to that room since it's hardwood floors.
Right. Noise traveling through the second, third floor, a building being.
Because I just can't control any guests from coming in and out of their room. They can do as they please when they stay here, just as yourself. I can't control how many times someone leaves their room.
Right.
I can't tell them that they can't do that. The only thing, if there's any noise, I can try to tell them to quiet down. I can go ahead and do that. But other than the door closing, there's not really much I can do.
Right. So I'm gonna let you finish because I was speaking and you were interrupting. Is that everything?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm stating is I understand that you are not controlling physically how many times the adults are inside of their hotel rooms and they're walking in and out and repeatedly slamming the doors. That's not what I'm asking you to control, nor would I ask someone to do that. I understand that you guys are a business, and I'm assuming they paid for their room as I did. And as I am mindful of those that are around me, which again, a reasonable person would be, if you are creating a substantial level of disruption to those that are around you who have paid for their rooms, that's something that I'm asking you to be mindful of. In addition to that, the fact that the room is carpeted or is not carpeted it is not an explanation as to why I'm being disrupted while I'm laying in my bed, not making any movement. Someone that is underneath on the second floor in room 208, their door closure must be so substantially disruptive and abusive to the building that it's creating some sort of earthquake while I'm in my bed. Is that the explanation that you would have? Because there is no age of a building or position of an elevator that is any explanation regarding what is the hostile and harassing environment that this hotel has been. And the guests in the hotel are continuously engaging in what is a level of harassing disruption. It's not normal. It's not about you telling them or policing them, well, they're coming in and out a certain amount of time. That's not what I'm asking you about, Cindy. But I have to make a phone call again because I'm laying in my bed not moving. And you have what is door closures that's creating a substantial disruption inside of my hotel. I go in and out of my hotel room myself. And it's not sounding inside of into the depths of someone else's. It's not that loud at all. At all. That's all I'm stating. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, I totally understand. So I can go ahead and relay the message to my assistant manager, Renee. I'll go ahead and let her know she will be here tomorrow. And so she's aware of whatever's going on regarding our guest here in 308.
Okay, so the assistant manager. So who is the manager above Renee? That's the name I want to know as well.
Mintu, but she won't be in. I don't think she'll be in tomorrow.
You
so
said
you won't
Mintu?
catch her, but you will catch our assistant manager here in the morning.
Okay, what was that name? I didn't catch it. What was it?
Mintu.
Mintu?
Yeah.
Is it Mintoo? Is that how you spell it?
Yes.
Okay, Mintu. Is that a male or a female?
Female, but she won't be here.
Oh, no, I understand. I'm getting for my own purposes. I need to understand who's the names of those that are accountable for what I'm subject to while I'm in the room, while I'm paying for it. So Mintu is the manager. Renee is the assistant manager. And you are the current person at the desk right now downstairs in relevant position, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cindy. You have a good night.
I do apologize about the inconveniences, okay?
Well, I appreciate your at least listening to me. Thank you. I appreciate it because I do pay for the room and it's something, you know, typically when you're at a hotel, it's a relaxing stay. P.O.C. It's currently 8:14 p.m. Cindy's going to federal prison. All right. And everything that she stated is audible activity. And as I stated in real time, the demons are monitoring, pacing on camera, which she's aware of everything that's occurring while they're walking in and out. And doing so again, it's currently 8:14 p.m. And that's another demon just opening and closing their doors, just like I captured on video while the housekeeper was group stalking in the hallway. The demon in room 306 was right next to me. She opens and closes the door, which was audible activity while the demon was walking toward me. The demon is the housekeeper, and the demon in room 306, it was an African-American couple that then exited, which I took a picture of. They're crossing path. Their record remains. They're going to federal prison, and that was days ago. All they're doing is checking demons in and out over and over again, and they are together engaging in group stalking on behalf of the state. This demonic system is underway, and it's being facilitated by WYNDHAM, who's directly engaging in it, including by, excuse me, my voice, including by Cindy, who's downstairs. So, all right, amplification by the demons who are group stalking. And remember, it's 8:16 p.m. So around the rooms, there's a demon that's right here in front. Right in front is the demons in 307 and 309. They're opening and closing their doors repeatedly. As I was describing on the phone, excuse my voice. As I was describing on the phone, the entity is engaging in what is at 7:46 p.m. and again at 7:59 p.m. door closure. Okay, and remember, this is demonic. So the entity engages in things such as the amplification of helicopter activity when the helicopter is miles away and you cannot possibly hear it. So this is a demonic system where demon-possessed people are stalking you, and this is a malicious system that's supposed to result in your being defamed. So they're supposed to be able to carry you away to a crazy house as you're claiming that strangers are stalking you. This is how group stalking is supposed to result. That's not what's going to happen. Cindy and everybody else in these hotel rooms, they're all going to federal prison. So is Renee, the assistant manager, and so is Mintu, the admitted and manager, who is an employee of the facilitating video, and I'm documenting ongoing terrorism and psychological torture on behalf of the government, who is going to be prosecuted for domestic terrorism in California. The entity is doing so while engaging in what is the very petty but very costly and very serious federal offenses of terrorism of an American citizen whom they're criminally keeping under surveillance. They are doing so as a matter of record, checking out the hotel room in room 307, checking out the hotel room 309, checking out the hotel room 306, checking out the hotel room 310, and everybody else in this hotel. This is another community, in other words, where I'm showing you the specific environment. Just like at Woodside Senior Apartments, I believe it was apartments 33 through 64, they're all going to federal prison. That was the sector of the community that maintained presence on a 24-hour basis. There was no time, in other words, that the entity ceased from maintaining criminal presence in the path on behalf of the government, who was group stalking with the people. The entity is making money while doing so. WYNDHAM is not only going to be civilly prosecuted, but they're going to be criminally prosecuted for this criminal system, terrorizing an American citizen with the intent to psychologically torture. The entity is doing so with impunity, and again, doing so while also aware of the facts. So the criminal act is to engage in criminal surveillance with the state. The criminal act also includes the criminal monitoring on the communication device on the internet via communication devices. That's federal stalking that they're engaging in, which is the entity that is criminally surveilling you is also surveilling your documentation, which I am creating, including while I'm speaking to this demon, Cindy, who's going to federal prison. She's on video engaged in group stalking in a specific environment, both at nightfall and under the fake sun, communicating what is a threat through the substance of her audible activity under the fake sun. This same fool is group stalking while I'm documenting very serious acts of terrorism and psychological torture, which is relevant to domestic terrorism that the federal government is going to treat very seriously. These idiots are engaging in group stalking while I'm on the phone, while you're documenting that. This is what the entity, again, in federal court will regret what they're doing now. They're doing so as a matter of record by a corrupt business who's going to produce all of that information for its prosecution, and every single last one is going to federal prison. So while I'm documenting that, literally the audible activity of the conversation is criminal on Cindy's behalf, on her part. All right, she's engaging in what is admitting by answering the phone. You are an admitted group stalker on behalf of the state. You don't have a right to be at the job. You don't have a right to engage in relevant positioning. This is the ease with which you are prosecuting the entity that's engaged in state surveillance with the government. The entity is doing so while terrorizing while I'm in my bed. This is an admitted sex offender, Cindy, who was naming other sex offenders, Renee, the assistant manager, and Mintu, the manager, who are going to federal prison. And the criminal conduct that the customers are engaging in is what WYNDHAM is engaging in. Cindy is engaging in that criminal conduct while demons, sex offenders, psychopaths are opening and closing their doors with regard to stalking with audible activity, and doing so while I get off the phone and I'm documenting it at 8:14 p.m. A demon is deliberately engaging in what is the same exact thing seconds later at 8:14 p.m. while demons are mocking their own prosecution. Okay, those are the sex offenders that are going to be labeled as such and terrorists. And of that population that are not natural born citizens, this is why the federal government is not going to hesitate to have them. They will be deported. Okay, these are the likes of citizens that are not welcome in this country. They're here engaging in terrorism and then want to be looked at outwardly, including on social media, as normal people, as some sort of contribution to society, something less than a threat. That's all that they are. These are threats to society, to themselves, to children, to the elderly, and to the rest of the people, including the people of the state. These are the demons that will be attacking each other as this ongoing demonic system and the demon possessed just engage in what is an ongoing progression in their mental illness. It will result in what is attacking each other. While right now they're pacing in and out of hotel doors to target a stranger. They don't know me while they're group stalking me. They're going to federal prison though. So the entities engaged in this pattern of conduct, and I'm documenting that, and it's a criminal act on the part of WYNDHAM as I am engaging in this a creation of documentation to prosecute them. All right. I understand while you're answering the phone at the facilitated venue, you're admittedly engaging in criminal surveillance with the government, who has no right for you to maintain a malicious means of criminal presence in the path. In the same way that the government has no right to engage in surveillance by checking out a hotel room right next to me and, tapping the phone and using sorts of technology to listen through the walls and place a camera in your hotel room. The government doesn't have any warrant or probable cause to do that. The government that's group stalking has no right to do it through the demon-possessed population, because that's what group stalking is. All right, and this is how I'm speaking to, again, the unintelligent response by Cindy, who she needs to learn how, and like every other demon, they need to learn how to be quiet. Okay, because the more that they speak, first of all, it's criminal activity, but it's also lacking the ability to make any logical sense. And that's not a reflection on the targeted individual. It's a reflection on the demons who are group stalking. And I will continuously document the terrorism that's happening at this facilitating venue where you've seen the fake sun, the duration of time of the remaining of that fake sun, the impossible light in the hallway, and Cindy's going to federal prison. Okay, the Indies engaging in what is ongoing terrorism by this ongoing shaking of the bed while I'm laying in it. That's at 7:46 p.m., again at 7:59 p.m., while the entity is engaged in federal stalking, meaning as I am typing it. The bed is shaking. That's a terrorizing event. Understand the targeted individual's situation who is reasonably freaked out and very much suffering psychological and emotional distress while this is occurring. And who are they going to talk to about it as I'm talking to this inferior demon who has no idea with regard to, oh, she's listening to me, document her. She's listening to the legal framework that she's being surrounded by, but she has no idea what she's going to be subject to in federal prison. And the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct with impunity and malice, which is literally translucent. Okay, this is the unintelligent entity surrounded by evidence and continuously doing so. Why? Because they are indeed mentally ill, and you are witnessing the affects, the ongoing manifestations of mental illness by demons surrounded by evidence, who you are, and you are engaging in that criminal conduct. It's the most foolish system that is literally a matter of justice and judgment by the Lord Jesus Christ. Okay. You're not hiding with regard to your identity, nor are you escaping that federal prosecution, which is one of the aspects of judgment of the demon possessed in California. The entity's doing so with Cindy. While the demon is opening and closing the door, Cindy is group stalking with this demon on the third floor. That's why I stated it during that phone call. That's impunity that Cindy is exhibiting. Understand the demon possessed are one entity. Cindy is group stalking with the demons while they're in relevant position. She's downstairs while the bed is repeatedly shaking. That's why I wanted to get her voice on this phone, on the phone for this podcast, because Cindy's going to federal prison. Cindy is the terrorist that's group stalking while my bed is shaking at this facilitating venue where the impossible light activity and the light source, which is not under no circumstances a natural environment, that is Cindy's criminal intent to psychologically torture me and to threaten my life and safety and liberty while she is doing so on behalf of the government, acting in furtherance of the conspiracy to murder or kidnap me. And her conversation is showing her unintelligent methods of malice. It is nonetheless malice. Okay, the IQ, there's clearly no IQ requirement with regard to the demon possessed who are group stalking. You can look at my evidence and review it. As you can see, there is clearly no IQ requirements. You have a population of unintelligent third parties, which is nothing other than a liability. They are an ongoing, walking, talking liability, an entity that sought to target and sacrifice me, and I am prosecuting it and all of its unintelligent minions who are together collectively providing for their own demise. So while I'm documenting what is shaking by the bed, you are mindful of the specific environment. No targeted individual is speaking of anything that's within their imagination. This is the entity that is engaging in criminal conduct to its own demise. The entity is not targeting an American citizen that lacks the evidence, that lacks the ability, that lacks the legal skill set, or lacks the ability to articulate, in other words, and document very precisely and detailed what the entity is doing and the ways in which it's doing it. And by the way, this is within a body of evidence that pre-existed my encountering this unintelligent demon, Cindy. Okay, who was engaging in the pattern of conduct with these demons, pacing in and out of their hotel rooms all together, lacking the IQ that would, under any circumstances, help the state of California. The entity that's group stalking at Alvarado Gardens, this is why they're going to federal prison. This is why, because this is what they've been doing while I was living and working there. This is not tolerable, and this is how an entity is providing evidence against themselves. They don't cease to be the same entity that I documented before I came to La Quinta. This is why they and speaker companies are going to federal prison. This is why, again, the entity that is group stalking by helicopters at Alvarado Gardens under the fake sun, that's why they're going to federal prison. That's why the state is going to be prosecuted, what the entity is doing. This is that same entity who was group stalking at the WYNDHAM, who is going to compensate me for this, which I'm continuously documenting. There will be a price tag placed on psychological torture by the entity that is contracting with the government to murder or kidnap you. And it is a price tag that is designed to punish and deter. While demons with very low IQs are costing WYNDHAM money, which is justice. WYNDHAM deserves to lose its reputation. WYNDHAM deserves to be criminally prosecuted for terrorism in the U.S. WYNDHAM deserves to be have its pockets drained for engaging in this criminal system. It is currently, by the way, 8:26 p.m. The demons are pacing in and out of their hotel rooms. They are in relevant position on surveillance cameras amongst what is criminal conduct that Cindy is engaging in, including while being hostile as a demon-possessed terrorist, hanging up on the target individual that she's mad at because I'm smarter than her. Okay, it would be prudent for a demon to cease to engaging in targeting its own prosecutor, because that's what the demon possessed have literally asked for, and that's what they're going to get. That's what they've gotten. All right, there's an ongoing running tabulation of federal offenses while I'm documenting group stalking while I'm inside of a hotel, and this is understanding what Cindy is. Cindy is an exceedingly violent sex offender. Monitoring literally through that phone conversation in concert with the sex offenders whom she is checking into all these hotel rooms inside of WYNDHAM. La Quinta ends by WYNDHAM, which she intentionally and knowingly does, which is going to cause WYNDHAM a lot of money. It is currently, again, 8:27 p.m. This is P.O.C.